Most of the memory, all I remember is Bottle pointing at me, then blackness, then finding half a word that's originally in my mouth. Can't believe my uncle did that. But I am unlucky though, particularly in love. I have trouble staying in relationships with women for any length of time. I mean, I can manage it. There was one that lasted about 3 months, but apparently in the end I was too needy and immature. And finally, 1976, she gave me up for adoption. And I think the reason my mother never loved me was because of the trauma of my birth. Because apparently during it, the doctor's like, oh my god, the placenta's coming out first. And usually that's really dangerous. But then they noticed the placenta had eyes and they realised it was just a very ugly baby. Which was a problem when she gave me up for adoption, because you had to throw in a VCR before she got any takers. So. And even, you know, another reason I'm not very good with women, I'm not very good at chatting up women. I used to have some success with the line, you look like $1 million. But I think since the global economic downturn, that's lost a lot of its cachet. People are unwilling to invest in foreign currencies, so I tried telling a woman she looked like £1 million, but she was kind of big and took it the wrong way, so that didn't work out either. And even when I get into a relationship, I'll fuck it up in no time. Like my last girlfriend, she was perfect, she had hair down to here. I mean, she was poor, but with a huge bush, and I ruined it when I made a joke about the size of one of her labia, and she got into a massive flap. It's my favourite one, I don't care. At this point though, I'd actually kind of like your help, because it's coming up to my nephew's birthday party, and I always get him a board game every year. And last year I got like Star Wars themed Monopoly. I am sorry to mention Star Wars, but they do generally get a Doctor Who Monopoly. I mentioned that in my app, but they don't have one. I want them to do one. But this year I wanted to get him something similar, like a board game, and I wanted to run the ideas past you, see what you thought. First one I was thinking of Credit Crunch Monopoly, which is like normal Monopoly, except they replaced the fake money with real money, because it's worthless now. Smackhead Kaplunk. Basically, instead of pulling the needles out, you push them in. That's how that was. It's very similar to acupuncture, if you've ever played that. But that's what they do. They take a board game, they reverse the rules, they come up with a new board game. For instance, there's Certainty. That's Risk with nuclear weapons. It's a lot of fun. Important Pursuit, which is like Trivial Pursuit, except the questions are like, how do we solve the crisis in Darfur? And of course, the best reverse rules board game is Puking Hippos. A lot of fun. First one to size 0 wins. Another game I considered was Snap, which is Twister for people with osteoporosis. Gender reassignment operation. Like normal operation, you just move the cot from one board to the other. As it's for a child, I didn't want to get that. I wanted to get NHS operation, but there was a 2-year waiting list. Couldn't do that. Also, the Game of Life is a really good board game, but if you do buy that, make sure you don't buy the American fundamentalist Christian version in that, because obviously over there, you know, life starts at conception. And if you do try quitting in the first 9 moves, someone spray paints murderer on your car. Speaking of America, there's 9/11 Jenga. Basically the same, but you get 2 of them. And some remote control planes. But it's part of their satirical range of board games they do, which started, let's see, one of the ones they did, Metropolitan Police Guess Who? Oh, that's brilliant. It's a lot easier though, because they really don't care who you pick, as long as they get an arrest. It's basically like Metropolitan Police Cluedo, which doesn't come with a little evidence card. You have to fabricate those yourself. Yeah, but they started doing these satirical board games in 2004 with Whack-A-Mole, which was a box containing some painkillers, directions to Dr. David Kelly's house, and a note saying, make it look like suicide. But you know, some board games have had to change due to health and safety rules as well. I mean, due to health and safety, the new version of Snakes and Ladders contains neither snakes nor ladders. It's just called Anne. Equally, due to health and safety, you can't buy pop-up pirates after some children stabbed a fisherman to death in a copycat incident. And that sort of thing happens all the time, actually. The sinking of the Belgrano was just a game of battleships that got way out of hand. But political correctness has, you know, resulted in some games changing as well. You know, because due to political correctness, we all now accept that dyslexia is a genuine condition that affects a lot of people. And so the new version of Scrabble has absolutely no rules. Play what you like, have a fucking A-level while you're at it. But I think the board game I'm going to get in, it's a lot of fun. It's where the whole family gathers round and masturbates onto the face of a mule that could go off any minute. That's Bukakaroo. The last thing I'll say though is that actually it was my birthday recently. My sister got me a replacement pair of gloves. I mean, don't you hate that thing where you put 2 fingers in one of the holes and it tears? I mean, in retrospect, I should have just given her a thank you card, but we've always been really close. lovely.
An amazing fact for tonight. You'll be able to dazzle your friends with this. This is a true fact, which I'm sure you don't know, which is that Hitler had a film industry, and it comes from Graham's Act. He was talking about the sinking of the Belgrano or whatever. Hitler made a film on the sinking of the... And more people were killed in the film that Hitler made on the sinking of the Titanic than actually were killed sinking the Titanic. That is absolutely true. And currently I'm a TV producer and I have a program proposal called Hitler, and you would not fucking believe what that man did. He at the end of the Second World War, when he knew he was going to lose it, this is true, this isn't a joke, he pulled back 4,000 of his frontline troops to make Napoleon. And it's just insane. Sorry? Am I interrupting? I'm just jumping off though. Yeah, no, it's about Peter Davison to me. Like, now, you see, I'm pretending I can read. In fact, I can only read like that. Yeah. Peter and I are just grumpy old blokes. You go down to the hotel in the morning, and we were in Australia, Sydney and Melbourne, and blah, 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 and through New Zealand. We go down in the morning and say, we look at each other and I go, and he goes, yeah, the shower. It's the shower, isn't it? Yeah, it's got 4 taps. How can a shower? I mean, you only need 2. And then I go, I respond as the grumpy old man. Yeah, and none of them have got red, blue, or hot or cold on. And so he says, it's the room key, isn't it? Like plastic room keys. Right? We all hate them, right? And you know what happens? As actors, we're often in hotels. You have a late checkout, right? So we were in this hotel in Wellington. I said, shall we do the grumpy old man thing, Peter? Shall we go to reception and tell them that we won't be able to get in our rooms if we take the card up? Because they never do. They never work, right? So he said, no. He said, no. He said, that'd be stupid, Mark, you know, because we can't just be grumpy with our lives. So we go up to the rooms, and guess what? Both of us put our cards in the room. And by 3 o'clock, Peter's lost his plastic card for the room. And we go to check out, and they try and charge him $20 for the plastic card. And he loses it big time. So can you imagine Peter Davison losing it? Well, yeah. Well, yes, he does lose it. Ladies and gentlemen, next, Mr. Michael Dolan. Oh God, I wish I was dead. Hello! Hello, thank you. I've got a feeling this is going to be a tough fucking gig. Get off! Pipe down the streets and I've got this under control. Good evening, hello, thank you for having me. It's a terrible, terrible comedy cliche or funny thing happened to me on the way to the gig. And it's not true, because it didn't. I'm going to tell you this briefly. An absolutely fucking terrifying thing happened to me on the way to this gig. I was driving here about an hour ago, and I nearly killed somebody. And the best part is, not by accident. Genuinely, there's this girl that I know, and I've had my eye on her for years, but she's been with her boyfriend for about 6 years. And I saw him coming towards me on his bike, and I thought I could just hit him. I'd probably get away with that, hit and run. The only thing that stopped me is I don't know what the arrest rate statistics are for hit and run. So, good evening, I am called Michael J. Dolan. Hello. I think, this might be a little contentious. Is it fairly safe to say we're all nerds here? Yeah! It's a Doctor Who convention, it's not a grey area, is it? Yeah, I mean, I've always been a bit of a nerd. I always have been. I know things a grown man shouldn't know. Like I know who Rassilon is. I know the difference between Ron Smith and Mike McMahon. I shouldn't know this shit. I'm 32 years old. I'm a 10th of the way through my life. That's a maths joke. I really feel like I should grow up, but the thing is, I've never been cool. Actually, maybe cool's not the right word. I do like to think I'm a little bit cool. But that's fucking hard won. That's 10 years of forced, empty arrogance that's brought that on. But I've never been hit. That's the thing. There seems to be a thing. There's like, I don't know what it is. There seems to be like some sort of quick, everybody dressed like this newsletter that I don't get.
You know, just so you'll step outside one day and just all of a sudden everybody's dressing the same as each other, but differently to how they were the day before. Like at the moment it seems to be, men seem to have to wear a cowboy shirt and have the hairdo their mum had in the 70s. Sort of like a Brokeback Mark Hamill. Sort of thing. And women seem to be dressing like a drunk Olivia Newton-John. That's any era. That seems to be going on. Or many at once. But there's certain trends though that I'm really looking forward to seeing come to an end. So I think leggings have sort of come back into fashion recently, haven't they? Like, especially wet look leggings. I don't know if you've noticed this, women seem to be wearing these. As far as I'm concerned, leggings are a test of how hot you are, and they're a test that a lot of women are failing in public. I think it's time to call it a day. The other trend that I'm looking forward to seeing come to an end is when did large groups of women decide they were going to start greeting each other on a night out by screaming at the top of their lungs? when did they start bouncing up and down like slagging toddlers? Well, I don't know when that started. Men wouldn't get away with that. If you were out and lads and your friend arrived, you'd arranged to meet, you hadn't seen him since that afternoon, you're very excited. And if he walked in to be confronted by you going, "Ah! Ah! Ah!" All right, Dave? It wouldn't happen. It's ludicrous behaviour and it needs to stop. The thing is, like, in terms of like sort of dressing yourself and things, I've never been able to do it. I don't dress myself. I can't be trusted. I let my ex-girlfriend dress me. She picks my clothes out. And my style's always been sort of, you know, keep your head down, low key, try not to call attention to yourself, sort of thing. That tends to be how I dress. Which doesn't always work, to be fair. I was out drinking recently, and the local thugs near me decided to regale me with cries of "all asses." You know what that means. So it doesn't always work, but I wish I could dress in a slightly sort of less self-conscious way. This happened a few years ago, and I don't know if this is going to be remotely funny, but I'm going to say it anyway. I was shopping in Sainsbury's, and this kid was coming towards me, wearing this Star Trek t-shirt. And it was one of these ones, you know, like a really sort of carefully airbrushed portrait of Patrick Stewart. And like, somebody's like slaved over it, but it's a bit off. You know, one of those, it was just huge, just emblazoned on him. And I would love to know what process he went through he must have been in the shop and gone, yes, that is the t-shirt for me. Something so eye-catching people won't be able to remember my actual head when they see me in it. And I wish I could dress like, not in that particular, I mean, I fucking hate Star Trek, so not in that particular thing. But fuck it. The thing is, Star Trek, I wouldn't fit in Star Trek's world. They all up on time and stuff. I can't do that shit. I would be the worst employee on the Enterprise. Absolutely, just pissed out of my mind trying to drive it drunk in the middle of the night. But I don't know what I'm sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me. I wrote most of this afternoon. Wrote might be an overstatement as well, actually. Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, like, sort of being a nerd seems to have been co-opted recently. Like, you know, all the fucking hipster douchebags have gone, oh yeah, dressing like you can't dress yourself, that's cool. You know what I mean? They seem to have sort of co-opted the look of the nerd. And I don't think being a nerd is never going to be cool. That's the thing, it's never going to happen. And I'm alright with that, I'm quite pleased about that, because it's not about the way you look, it's not about not being able to dress yourself, apart from in one very specific Star Trek t-shirt case. It's more about sort of social ineptitude, I think. You can't really sort of function in the same way that other people seem to. So you throw yourself into your hobbies, you throw yourself into fiction or music or whatever it is you're into. And I think that's what it's about. And I've got that in spades. I cannot socially interact at all. I'm really bad at it, especially when it comes to women. My chat-up technique tends to be walking up to somebody, handing them a note, saying, there's my phone number, there's a poem on the back, disregard it, it's not for you. I don't know what it is. It's like, I get this thing, it's like dating Tourette's. You try and say the right thing, but everything that spills out your mouth is inappropriate bullshit. I was on a date a few years ago with this girl, and she told me her surname was Christie, and I immediately said, oh, like the cancer hospital. Yeah, she didn't like that. But I think I get into too much trouble about the things that I say rather than the way I act. You know, I think women place too much importance on my words. And I don't think it's fair, because I know guys who get away with dreadful behaviour. I know one guy who cheats on his girlfriend, he goes to strip clubs, he steals. I know a guy who actually steals from his girlfriend, he takes money from her purse and she stays with him. I once, under duress, admit that if it was cooked right and I trusted the baby, all of a sudden I'm not boyfriend material. Doesn't seem fair, somehow. I should probably, you know what, actually, I tried really hard to write some Doctor Who jokes for this, and I couldn't even come up with anything, not even the fact that I look vaguely like David Tennant. There was nothing. I've been told by many people. I've got nothing on it. The best I could do was, I came up with one time travel joke, so I'm going to try out on you, and it's fucking shit. So brace yourselves. I'll tell you the thing I hate about time travel. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, it's that thing where you accidentally cause a space-time paradox and the whole fabric of reality unravels around you. It's not that, it's the jet lag. Yeah, that's it. It's the whole fucking joke. I don't know, I've no idea how long I've been up here. It could have been an hour. I do apologise. I'm gonna wrap up briefly. I'll tell you this quickly before I go, because it's one of my favourite jokes. I am mentally ill. Not in a dangerous way, don't panic. But I am, and this is a good example of quite how mental I am. I was driving a few months ago through the centre of town, just down there, Washway Road, actually, and I looked in the rearview mirror to see Robert De Niro was sat in the back seat of my car. And I turned around to look, and he wasn't actually in the back seat at all, he was just in the rearview mirror. So I didn't really know what to do, so I pulled in, had a bit of a panic attack by it, kept looking, he was still there, staring back at me. I thought, you know what, just forget it, ignore it, it's not happening, just drive off, pretend it's not happening. So I did, and I just pretended it wasn't going on. And then a couple of days later, I was driving again, I forget where I was, I do a lot of driving, I'm very lazy. And I looked in the rearview mirror to see that there were now two Robert De Niros sat in the back seat of my car. And again, I didn't really know what to do, so I panicked and just sort of ignored it, pretended it wasn't happening. But this kept happening over a period of weeks, to the point where there were so many Robert De Niros in my rearview mirror that I couldn't see out the back window anymore. So I thought, right, I've got to get this sorted out. So I took the car down to the mechanic, and he put a new mirror on. It's fine now. It's my favourite joke. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been absolutely adorable. I've been Mark J. Dolan. Thanks very much.
Life stories from the extraordinary life of Albert Strickland. So I was in Huddersfield swimming pool changing room the other day. Yes, I was. I am the only person in the world who has their annual holiday in Huddersfield. That's what my parents did. And so I have my annual holiday in Huddersfield. And I was there, and there were two little boys, and they said, "You're on telly, aren't you?" And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not on telly anymore. I was telling the truth. They said, "Here you are." Now, who do I look like off the film? Because this has happened to me all the time. Jim Carver. Is he ruining sexy? Oh. Why I reckon would they think I look like Jim off the film?
It's ginger.
I'm so fucking ginger. So that's a give me one. And then I look like everybody else. Right, I live in New Zealand at the moment. Next stop Antarctica, right? Literally, next stop Antarctica. You go into the club where I live in Dunedin, and all the menus are signed by Scott and these people who died. You know, they went off to Antarctica. And and we had this little cottage. Sort of 10 minutes out of the town. There's a really poor place to go to. Now, they don't fuck around Australians and New Zealanders, right? You don't go to an off-licence to buy booze. You go to a bottle shop. That's what they call them there, right? You go and buy your bottles at a bottle shop, right? So I was in this bottle shop, and there was a bar next to it. And went into the bottle shop, and I was looking around for a six-pack of small cider bottles. I'm a big drinker, and I like my cider. And anyway, there's this big disturbance in the bar. And this woman, she can hear it going like that, right? And there's like three of them come through into the bottle shop. Now, there's some singer I look like, some American singer.
Bryan Adams.
Bryan Adams, that's it! I look like fucking everybody in the world in Winning People, right? So anyway, so she comes through and she goes, "You're Bryan Adams, aren't you?" So I go, "Well look, work it out. We're Mexican suburb of a small town in the South Island of New Zealand, next up Antarctica, and I'm buying a 6-pack of cider. Am I likely to be Brian Adams? You are, aren't you? I said, no, I'm not fucking Brian Adams. I could earn a fortune if I had like 48 Brian Adams templates to sign. So, but after the break, we'll have somebody you do know, which is Charlie. Charlie. So, senior member, Charlie. Back to after the break. Have yourselves a beer for 10 minutes, and we'll be back. Love you all. But that's not a big part of our life. When I first started at Doctor Who, we got flown around the world, and we got put in stretch limos and things as we were going to the States. And Deborah Watling went on her first appearance to the States with me, and I'd been about 9 or 10 times, and I said, Deborah, be cool. A stretch limo is going to meet you. We'll have champagne as we drive into Kansas City, as it happens. And just stay cool, right? She arrived at Heathrow Airport in a fur coat, high heels, and everything. She looked $1 million. She looked really beautiful. And so we got on the plane and had a nice time, and got off, and there it was. The Pounder Blue stretch limo was there. Really, it was like a dream. And we got in the back of it, Kansas City, and poured some champagne. And I should say we'd been going 10 minutes on the freeway before we ran out of petrol. This is not a joke, this is a real life story. It gets really tragic, this story, alright. And so the driver, who's called Frank, had no money. So I had changed like some money, I had $100 in my back pocket. So he gave me one of those little red petrol cans. Right? Well, I've missed a bit of the story. By this time it was slightly snowing. And I had to get out with Frank whilst Deborah drove the stretch limo. We had to push it off the freeway. So we pushed it off the freeway. I then walk for a mile up the freeway, and I get some petrol, hitch a lift back, and we eventually get to the hotel, right? So the next morning, right, we're supposed to do this bit's Doctor Who's shown in public broadcasting in the States, right? So you go to the station, and people have to pay to watch it. So you go and say, hi, I'm Mark Strickson, I'm on Doctor Who with Peter Davison as the Doctor, and if you like this great programming on PBS, Kansas City, then you donate, please donate, because otherwise you're going to lose it. You know, well, whatever, you do some shit like that. So anyway, so we get out, Frank picks us up in the Pounder Blue stretch limo. And we've been gone, I would say, about 2 minutes before we ploughed into the back of a VW meter. And we pretty much wrote it off and gave everybody a whiplash. So, in America, if you're a witness to an accident, right, you have to go to the police station. So we went to the police station, right? But we haven't got our passports with us. Apparently, if you're involved in, I don't get this, if you're involved in an accident in these States and you're a foreigner, it's illegal not to have your passport on you. Well, how do you know you're going to be involved in an accident? Did you leave the hotel saying, I'm going to have an accident today, I think I'll take my passport with me? No, you don't! Of course you fucking don't! Right, so we spent 2 hours in the police station. We got back, the last thing we wanted to see was Frank ever again in our life, right? And we didn't see Frank for 2 days. But when we went to the airport at the end of it, we came out of the hotel and there was the Pounder Blue stretch limo. Oh, no. I should say Frank wasn't a Doctor Who fan, he was a paid person. He was supposed to be able to drive a car. So we set off for the airport, we get on the freeway, and suddenly the limo slews to the left, Frank vomits all over the windscreen. This is true, right? This is true. And we pull in on the side of the freeway, right? And, you know, like a London taxi, I used to like to pull this last bit like that, right? And Frank, we watch as Frank mops the vomit off the and sort of like squeeze his tissues out. And then we set off, right? And Frank's like sort of waving through the glass, and so I open the glass and the smell of vomit. And Frank says, I'm really sorry about that, guys, but I got a bit of an upset stomach at the moment. And so I say, as politely as I can, Frank, just fucking drive us to the airport. I mean, the hell right has to stop at some point. So there's silence for about 2 minutes, and then Frank comes out with the unforgettable line. Did you guys try any of our drive-in barbecues whilst you were in Kansas City? And at that point, everyone goes, fuck's sake, shut up! Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Charlie Ross will warm us up for the rest of the evening.
Hello. A big hand for your coffee, Mark Strickson. I wasn't supposed to be doing it tonight. I'm a little bit tired, a little bit drunk, but it's okay, we'll get there. I'm a strange Doctor Who fan. Unlike, I don't know, some of you, I like football, which I think I know, it's bizarre, isn't it? But it paid off about 2 years ago, because I was sitting watching a Falkirk versus Rangers football club match on television. And I didn't know much about Falkirk at the time, didn't pay much attention to it, but it came, my ears were pricked up when I heard the Falkirk goalkeeper's name was Kroll, right? He was from Denmark, yes. But my ears were further pricked up about half an hour later when the goalkeeper for Falkirk came out as the ball was crossed over, and he launched himself at the ball and he rose 2 feet above every striker and defender and punched the ball 40 yards, and I shit you not, the commentator said they just couldn't handle the power of Kroll. I really wanted one of the subs to be called Armageddon, I really did. Are they going to handle the Armageddon factor? And it's all going to be solved by the key to injury time. Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, I literally drove. I was doing a gig in London last night. I drove back up of London. I left my gig at 10:15 last night and drove all the way up to Manchester to be with you here tonight. And it's good to be here. And a funny thing, because it's funny, I was down in Manchester, I arrived in London, and one of the weird things in London is being on the tube. It's always a traumatic experience being on London's Underground. Has anyone been in London's Underground? Yes, it's always traumatic. And this weekend was bizarre, because I had a really bizarre experience, because being Scottish, and I jumped onto a tube, onto a train, and when I got on the train, no sooner had I set foot on this crowded Piccadilly line than I felt a frog in my throat appear, and I felt this insatiable desire to cough. Now, if you're Scottish this week, and you want to cough in an enclosed area, it's not a particularly good idea, right? So I'm trying to hold this cough in, and at this point, and I couldn't hold it in anymore, and I released a coughing fit that would frighten the French, and I may as well have been wearing a Scotland World Cup top and a fucking sombrero, for crying out loud. And at this point, I was saved, and I shit you not, I was saved by a guy. Now, there's always these guys, these wankers that think they can pass through solid objects, okay? As the doors close in the underground. This guy ran in, and he jumped on, just made it as the doors were about to close. And as he stood there, he smiled at everyone. Yes, I made it. But with a stunning lack of self-spatial awareness, forgot he had a rucksack on behind him. And the doors closed behind him, and as the doors closed, he went like this. Just hanging there. So he quickly realised and panicked and pulled the rucksack off. And we turned around, and there's the whole carriageway watching him. And he went to pull the 2 straps, and he gave him a good yank. And the 2 straps came right off in his hand as you watched the rest of the rucksack going through onto the platform as the train moved away. It was brilliant, it was fantastic. But yeah, I'm a real Doctor Who fan, ladies and gentlemen, because no, you don't know what I'm about to say. Because well, we all have attractions, and we all fancy people, and I fancy strange kind of women. I fancy strange girls. The kind of girls I fancy have short hair, flat chests, and a cock. And and therefore I'm a proper Doctor Who fan. What is all this nonsense I hear of comedians coming up here claiming to be Doctor Who fans and saying they fancy women?